I think we're live. This is Aaron, Bowtie Treasures. I'm here in the Bowtie Treasures studio. It's an official place. It's legit. Anyways, I'm here to paint, hang out with you. I'm so glad I have the opportunity to paint with you all, answer questions, and everything else we do here in the Bowtie Treasures studio. We're going to stick with two main colors tonight. If we have time, we'll bust out our favorite Gold Gilding Wax, but tonight we're going to be working with Midnight Sky. I've already done one coat of Midnight Sky. And then we'll blend in Yankee Blue. On my Dixie Belle live I did back in August, we did a 3-color blend from Yankee Blue in the navy down to Midnight Sky. And I'm not going to do the in the navy part, but we're going to use the Yankee Blue to highlight the panels. This buffet had it was a china cabinet. I took the top off. I actually remade the top, which is not part of this live tonight. But I noticed earlier that it was missing a little, like probably decorative keyhole. And if I have time, we'll see where we are. But I thought, what if I just put a little wood you bend right there? And so I was just making sure, but I don't know if I'll have time to do that. So when you see this piece finished, you might see a little decorative wood you bend piece right there, just to fill that in. And but that'll come later on, just to give you guys a heads up. Because usually when I'm on here, I'm trying to show you as much as I can of what I put into this piece, so that when you see the finished pictures, you know exactly how that was accomplished. So I have this piece, unusually, I really hate working on the floor, so I have it on my Lazy Susan, so it's nice and high. That gets me right on top of it, gives you guys a good view, so I'll be swinging this thing around as we work. So really, for the most part, this whole piece is one coat of Midnight Sky. I did clean it with White Lightning, also applied one coat of Gray Boss, just to give it a good clean slate and protect it a little bit. And I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use this is Dixie Belle's Flat Medium, okay, is the brush I'm going to start with. Some other brushes that I'm going to have, and I want to show you, this is one of Dixie Belle's, make sure I get the orientation right. This is one of the Dixie Belle's Oval Small, one of my favorite brushes, and this is an old one. This is like one of the first Dixie Belle brushes I ever owned, and you can see how different it is in age, right? But I love how it's starting to taper and get little fanned out, and it's becoming almost a really great blending brush for me. So the newer one is clean. Trust me, I use this all the time. I'm just really good about cleaning, I guess, but I love how my old one is starting to get that nice feel. So don't ditch the good old-fashioned brushes, right? So I'm going to use this. I've been liking this a lot for blending, especially on smaller spaces. Don't get me wrong, I really do like a good, big, best dang brush kind of, but sometimes it's just too big. And the other difference too is notice how this brush, the natural brush, is flat, where the old one is kind of fanned out and tapered. That's really, to me, makes a really good blending brush. We're kind of getting sidetracked on brushes here, but why not, right? This is Dixie Belle's Belle brush. You see how it's got a rounded taper? This also makes a nice blending too. It's a little stiffer though than this brush. You can just feel the stiffness, but I do really like their natural brushes. Speaking of tapered, see how this one has that taper? This makes for a nice blending too. So you get to get these brushes and you start learning which one works really well for you. So if you want to know what's a good brush to use, but don't get me wrong, you can still blend with a flat. You can blend. I've blended with 2 1-inches before. You just need to kind of get the feel of what the brushes can do for you, and you'll find that your work gets so much better when you can get the right brushes and when you learn how that they work for you. I'm gonna do my best to keep you guys up close, or at least into the action. And so tonight, let's focus on working on this blending. I'm gonna have Dixie Belle's misting bottle, and because one, the darker colors tend to be a little thicker, And so sometimes I'll be a little bit more proactive on using the mister bottle just to, if you want smooth strokes, if you want smooth painting, if your paint feels sticky or maybe it's a little older of a container, the mister bottle, just a little bit of mist will give it that smooth feel that you want. The other option, but I don't always recommend it per se, is to, you could put some paint in a container, mix a touch of water in it, but the misting bottle gives you just the right amount. So if you don't have a mister bottle, you can find those using the link in the description. Check those out. Make sure if you get a chance to check out your retailers in your area. That's always important, to go see the product firsthand. All right, we got to move quickly. I try to remember my talking points, but usually with blending, keep it wet, move quickly, and don't let it dry. So I just put a coat of paint there. And for this technique that I did last time I demonstrated this, I put paint all the way in the surface, and I'm just going to do a little bit of a stroke. Now at this point, you could mix, you see how I'm kind of doing zigzag, little small, mist it a little bit, keep that wet. And then this is where I'm going to come in and use that oval small, my older brush, or whatever you can do to help mix it. This is a third brush because it doesn't have any paint in it. Okay, so I'm kind of just feathering that out. When you're mixing, you're looking for no brush strokes. And it's hard to do if it's not wet, and we'll leave it just like that. Okay, if you feel like maybe you got too much blue, just give it a little bit of help with some of your original brush, and that's it. So I've got hardware that's going to hang right in that area, so I'm kind of creating a glow. If for some reason at this point right now that I didn't quite nail it, it probably would be better just to leave it, let it dry, and just do a quick recoat. And that's how we'll approach that. Yankee Blue, Midnight Sky. Now, you don't have to, if you watched my live last week, I actually painted, I had two sections, and then I mixed them. This one I painted all the color and put paint over it. So I'm kind of mixing Yankee Blue into it. If you want to tone down that color, and I'm protecting the top section from the mister bottle. So there's two ways, hopefully, that I made sense of that. You can mix, you can blend onto, or you can blend two edges. And for this demonstration, because I want to tone down the Yankee Blue, all right, you got to be careful that you don't get too sidetracked on other things. You really want this middle section to stay wet, and I'm getting sidetracked. Okay, Yankee Blue, I'm just going to do one band. That's all the paint I want. Okay, and then if you want, go ahead and do a quick little mixy mix. I'm just kind of sweeping. Now here's, this rag's a little wet, and I'm getting rid of the excess paint off. I'm just fanning. My pressure is probably about 20, 30, 40%. It's not very heavy, light-handed. Now I'm gonna come back and I'm just gonna do a quick. Basically, blending is kind of like mixing. You can make this as wide as you want or as narrow as you want, but I want this to have a nice centered glow. Okay, and as you finish it, that's where you want to start lightening your hand. I'm at like a 5% pressure, just touch it lightly. When that dries, it'll be more subtle. So the two places will complement together. So far we've painted this right side. Put a little paint right up here so I don't have to come back to it. And we'll just keep going across. This is actually one big drawer at the top. And I see Teresa said perfect blend, and I will stress that I don't, as much as I think it's a perfect blend, I don't stress to make it perfect. So if you feel like, oh, I can't get it straight, or I can't, maybe don't overly critique it, because it might stress you out too much, and it'd be better if you just chill out, right? You should be moving too quick to have time to stress over it. Just the pace that I'm going is about the pace I normally would be. So I'm getting the paint on there because right now the paint's starting to dry, right? So just get a coat of paint on there, put the brush down, get your other color. Now let's think about this. I've got 2 holes. I don't want to put a highlight where there's no hardware, at least not in this design. So I'm just going to do a quick one here. I'm going to turn my brush sideways. Just put a little paint there and there. I think that should be enough. And I probably had too much paint on my brush. Let me just mix that in a little bit, mixing the 2 colors. And then I'm going to do my blending. Kind of mixing still. I'm going to work both sides a little bit at the same time. Wipe it off and then soften it up. You're creating little miniature clouds, right? Glows. And this is where I wouldn't stress too much on being perfect, because there'll be hardware there. You're just creating a highlight. So I'm demonstrating how to blend in small spaces. This is about 4 inches tall. Okay. All right, quick mist. I think what I'm gonna do, and I'm not gonna highlight the holes here. I think what I'm gonna do is maybe just do a little bit of something like this. And I'll just kind of fade that out a little bit. I've just put Yankee blue on it. And I'm just kind of fading that out. Going across 2 drawers. Just creating a goal, keeping the, I think that would work. So let me wipe my brush off. I can tell I need to do a quick mist, hang on. As soon as I put a brush on there, it was sticky, and that's not a good feeling. You're not gonna do well. So I'm kind of doing that vignette ring or circle. Yeah, I'm glad I did both of the drawers at the same time. To get them lined up, was not gonna work. So you can see I'm kind of swooping, swirling around. I want to create a nice circle. Okay. Step back if you can, just to see if there's any areas you need to refine. And I've said this multiple times that on other lives when I blend, since there'll be hardware here, that hardware will dissipate any kind of area that you feel like maybe isn't quite perfect. So get it close and then say, that's good for now. And step back, see if you need to work on it a little bit more. I think we did pretty good. I see a couple of spots I may have missed last night. Let me put some more paint. Let's continue the midnight sky and finish this panel off. Sometimes when you're painting on the ground, you miss spots because they're so low. So I think what I missed was underneath the drawer. So basically I'm just misting with water, nothing special. And right now, after I just misted, I'm painting Midnight Sky. And maybe somebody's answered your question already, I don't know. I did, by the way, I did pull the drawers out and paint the sides. I'll do that off camera. I'm just really want to demonstrate the more technical part of this, and that is the blending. Okay, so we got the drawer covered. Yankee blue, just a little bit of space there, and we'll blend it in. Okay, put that aside. Get my oval small, my old oval small. We should give it a name like, you know, like you'd name a dog like Old Yeller. I'm open to suggestions. We'll just have to carve a name in there, right? So occasionally you might see me come back if I've got a little bit, an area that maybe I don't quite like. You better get on it quick. Maybe just tighten it up and then blend it again. It's getting a little off balance there. If we step back and show you, you can see we've only got one more panel to go. So far so good. 3 brushes, 2 colors. Dixie Belle's Mr. Bottle can do continuous sprays to a certain degree. You can do a quick spurt. You just got to kind of get the feel of it a little bit. Moving quickly. Let's get that Yankee blue. One stripe. What do y'all think? You think I should put some blending on the side? I mentioned at the beginning of the live that I wasn't sure if I was doing that yet. I need to keep this one somewhat consistent with the other panel. I can already see one rogue little area I need to touch, put a little paint on. Keep that rounded. Use that rag to unload some of the extra paint you might have. Sometimes until you let the 2 sides dry, you don't know how you did, but we'll take a look at it later. I'm assuming you guys want to see blending on the side. So now, okay, this is a bigger one, but I think we'll go a little bit larger of a stripe. Last week I blended top bottom, but this one I like that center panel concept, so I think we'll keep that going. Let me just give this a quick mist. Okay, so I'm just going to put just a quick courtesy coat in the middle where I'm going to blend to keep that nice and wet. We'll get our blue. So on the front doors I did 1 stripe. I think let's do 2, so just 2 wide. You need some kind of guide so that you know how to repeat it on the other side. And I think that would be good. And then we'll just kind of mix that into the lower layers. Maybe blend light touch around the edge just to soften it in. You're kind of taking the load off a little bit from Old Faithful, sort of get a name, from having to do all the work. Have your brush handy, wipe off any excess. It's doing a great job. I could use the Best Dang brush here. I have it, but we're gonna let Old Faithful take the show tonight, okay? Because I want to keep this somewhat practical. Not everybody may have that brush, although I recommend that you check that out. This is a bigger space. I did a really nice job of putting, you have to put enough paint down or it won't be wet, it won't mix. All right, so now it's time for just a light hand. It is a bigger space than all the other sides. This is where the Best Dang brush, for example, would be nice. The La Petite would probably work. but it's not much bigger than this brush is. Just looking for a really light touch, soft. I'm looking for any brush strokes that need to be softened out, and I think it looks really great. Getting a little bit of a glare, you can see it there. I'm gonna get some gilding wax. Y'all know this is my favorite gilding wax. Gold, gold, gold. Let me get, I'm gonna get a different brush. The one I was gonna use is a little bit extra. I wanna get a smaller one. So I've used my gilding wax a decent amount. So I'm kind of getting in there. And all I'm gonna do is just kind of hit the corners. Use your fingers if you want, and I'm just gonna fade it out. I demonstrated this last week as well. The finger is nice because you can see how I just kind of used it to. I have not cleaned the hardware yet. If you're unsure of what gilding wax to use, sometimes I will clean the hardware and complement the hardware, but usually kind of get it right. Most of the time it's going to polish up fairly to the gold side, but sometimes you might be surprised. Like I've polished stuff that I thought, oh, this is going to be great gold, and I polish it and it's silver. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's not gold, and it's like scramble. So if I'm wrong about this, which I doubt I am, because it's the same line as the one I had, but you get the idea if you ever want to be sure. So look how well that just says, hey, get out of the way. I'm in charge. This is my moment to shine. Next time you see it, it'll all be gilded wax. I'll figure this out and I'll have a top on it, and I'm excited to get it all wrapped up. I still need to pull the drawers out, everything out, and put the second coat of Midnight Sky on all the places, but I'll do that off camera. Whew, how about that? Time to breathe, relax. I'm Aaron with Bowtie Treasures. I'm a content creator for Dixie Belle. Always glad to be here with you. Thanks for watching tonight. Have a great weekend. Go out and be creative, do something awesome, and we'll talk to you later. Take care, bye-bye.
That's the end of the show. Make sure you subscribe and ring the bell before you go. Bye.